Welcome back to Hoops HD. It's continuing 2017-18 preseason podcasts. This is our West Coast Conference preview show, which we are recording simultaneously with two other shows. David, they're up there somewhere.
Yeah, they're up there, both of them. They're up there.
Those of you brave enough, again, watch all three at the same time, play them backwards, get cookie recipes, whatever. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood, joined by John Slika, David Griggs, Matt Zukowski, and John Teitel, who wasn't on those other two podcasts, for whatever reasons. But
this is the Suns game.
He was at the Suns game. How were the Suns tonight, Teitel?
Down 20 in the first quarter, came back to beat the Wizards. Unbelievably fun game for this longtime Phoenix Suns fan.
Wow. Well, congrats to the Phoenix Suns. Not that sure what sport that even is.
Yeah.
But we are talking West Coast Conference, and let's start. Well, actually, let's not quite start where I was going to start. Let's start somewhere else. Let's start with the team that was in the national championship game last year, coming out of the West Coast Conference, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, and David, incredible run by Mark Few's team last year, making it not only to the Final Four, but all the way to the championship game.
Yeah, all the way to the championship game, losing just one game prior to that. It was, a historic season in a lot of ways. Really frustrating second half. At least for a lot of fans, as you recall, it was a lot of fouls being called, but I don't know. It was still didn't end the way that they wanted it to. The wait for a non-Power 5 or I guess Power 6 school or a mid-major school to win it all continues, but it was still a fantastic season by Gonzaga and had some close calls on the way. South Carolina, they had to sweat that one out a little bit. West Virginia, that was kind of a sweat. Who'd they beat in the Elite Eight? I forget, to get to the Final Four.
I hate you, puppet.
Yeah, I don't remember. But that game wasn't close.
That game against some team that Slika kind of likes a little bit. Great game against South Carolina, like you said, also. John T., let me bring you in here on Gonzaga. How about this year? Any chance that they could be anything close to what they were last season?
No, and not because of anything personal, just because of a couple of things. One, the schedule. I'll defer to our guru, but if I'm reading it right, I see Florida, Creighton, and Villanova on there, which are three very tough games. They lost a lot of guys from last year. They've never had a freshman go before, and then they have the 7-foot freshman leave. I think he was a lottery pick, so I think that hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, because I think one thing they've been able to build their reputation on under Coach Few is that they just have talent that keeps getting better every year. But if they have freshmen leave, it's going to be tough. They do bring back Jonathan Williams and Josh Perkins, so I think that they are a favorite to win the conference along with another team we're going to mention shortly, I assume. But this team is not winning like 35 games next year.
Well, Matt, let me bring you in here on this Gonzaga team. You've got a couple players that were on the team last year that really need to step up now to fill in some of these spots. Guys like Tilly and the like, too.
Yeah, Killian Tilly in the front court, and then watch out for Rui Hachimura. He was a little raw last year, couldn't make it into the rotation, but might be the most skilled player on their roster. Will have to at least play 15, 20 minutes a night. And the other kid I'm watching out for, he's actually coming back from his LDS mission, Jesse Wade. I don't buy Josh Perkins as a point guard. Silas Melton's more of a 2-3. But if Wade can come in at least 15, 20 minutes a night, let Perkins play off the ball more, I think that'll be a key of them having a smooth offense, making sure you get it to Tilly and Jonathan Williams, and they run as smoothly as they did last year.
Yeah, and Sleek, I'm hearing a lot about this Hachimura guy as well that Matt just mentioned that really wasn't part of the team last year, but it's supposedly going to be a star this season. Do you see this Gonzaga team being able to reclaim the West Coast Conference and make a deep run in March?
I think they're probably going to end up splitting with St. Mary's, but another stumbling block that's been in place for Gonzaga has actually been BYU, who for some reason seems to have the cheat codes for winning in the kennel. Because remember, BYU was a team that actually knocked Gonzaga from the ranks of the unbeaten in March last year.
Well, Slick, let me stick with you because you are our scheduling guru and talk to you about one other schedule. And that is the team that you just said that Gonzaga you think they're going to split with, St. Mary's, a team that's getting a lot of preseason pub here, a lot of people talking about this team. Can you tell us a little bit about what St. Mary's schedule is going to look like for this year?
St. Francis, Pennsylvania, New Mexico State, Cal State Fullerton, at San Jose State. This is not a good trend, people. And now we go to the Wooden Legacy. They have Harvard, either Washington State or St. Joe's. And I think we already mentioned in a previous podcast who's on the other side, Sacramento State, San Diego State, Fullerton, or Georgia. Chad?
Can we keep going? There's a few more games on the St. Mary's schedule, though, aren't there?
Well, Dayton is a notable one this year, but unfortunately they are reloading. But the only other notable one is going to be at Cal.
At Cal, the last place team in the Pac-12, Sacramento State, Seattle, UC Irvine. David, we talk about scheduling a lot here. You've got a team that supposedly is going to contend for the West Coast Conference Championship. What the hell is Randy Bennett doing?
Well, I mean, this is kind of dumbfounding, especially when this team has been passed over before for this very reason, and it was the stated reason why they were passed over. And I don't understand this at all. And I know that like scheduling is hard. It's a sophisticated process, but you cannot tell me that they could not have done better than this. The only reason they're scheduling this way is because they're choosing to. And why are you doing that? Like you mentioned Gonzaga is not going to win 35 games. Well, St. Mary's might, and they'll be right on the bubble.
Tytel, this St. Mary's team on the court has a ton of talent, although we're only going to find out anything about them when they play Gonzaga twice. But what do you think about the players that are going to be putting out there this year?
Love the lineup. Hate the schedule, as you said. Coach Bennett has a great group of seniors from Australia. It's a very niche market, but it's working for him. He's got Emmett Nahr, of course, Jock Landale, who had a double-double in the loss to Arizona in the tournament last year. He's got a sophomore from Australia, Tanner Krebs. He's got Cullen Neal, a double transfer who's been through Ole Miss and New Mexico and missed most of last year with ligament damage in his right ankle, but when healthy, he can play. So I really like the seniors, and the Australians are pulling out the Aussie, oi, 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 and I think they're going to go very far this year.
Matt, do you agree with that? And I mean, especially with Jock Landale there, who I would argue is probably the best center in the entire nation.
I absolutely love the team. If the schedule could only be like, say, a 2 or 3 seed hindrance that, say, knocks them down from the 3 or 4 they would deserve normally to like a 6 or 7, then yeah. But like, if anything, say they lose to Harvard, not totally out of the realm of possibility. You're on the wrong side of the Wooden Legacy. That there isn't a great right side, but the wrong side could be real hideous. And that schedule, that could be like even knock them down to a 10 or 11 seed, and all of a sudden you got a real tough first round game, and you've squandered the best talent you're going to have for a few years. And I don't know why Randy Bennett decided to consult Patrick Ewing on putting a schedule together this year.
If he had done that here, maybe you could have gotten Patrick Ewing's spot in the PK.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, they insist that a couple teams from Portland be part of the Invitational. So,
yeah. Well, Matt, let me go back to you also here. Beyond these top 2 teams, I think it's always worth discussing BYU in the West Coast when we're talking West Coast Conference. Do you think that BYU can make any noise and maybe even contend for as a third tournament team this year?
Yeah, I guess we were talking before that they not quite St. Mary's level on their schedule, but not great for a team that needs a claw for an at-large. But the talent is there. I mean, you got the Hawes and Emery's little brothers. Yeah, TJ and Nick Emery, the TJ Hawes, Nick Emery. The only Childs apparently had a great offseason, looks strong. Peyton Dastup had a lot of offers coming in before going to BYU, and then Elijah Bryant, who I think actually a little bit more of an anchor than he is an asset, especially when you have two other heavy guards in the backcourt and you add Bryant to them. But if everything meshes, there's no reason why this team can't win 25 games. But I think it's not a lack of talent. I think it just might be a little bit of poor talent composition by Dave Rose. And I mooted a little bit last year and this year especially, another year without a tournament. And I wonder, when does BYU start thinking, wait a minute, we could maybe do a little better here? Because they're a unique draw that gets most of the top Utah kids in, especially the ones who are strong, the religious ones. And then has enough of a history and reach to pull, at least from the West Coast. So if this year goes off the rails or they're again struggling to make the NIT, I really wonder, is this Dave Rose's last year there?
Well, Tytel, do you agree with him that number one, that Dave Rose could be in trouble if they don't make the field, and number two, that maybe they could come close to making the field?
I don't think they're going to make the field this year, and I don't think it's going to cost Dave Rose his job. He's made the tournament several times in the past. I believe he's made it 8 times. This is his 13th year in Provo, and he's got not a ton of seniors on this class. Eric Mika really is going to be the deciding factor why I think they wouldn't make it. If he's still there, I think they do, because he was such a double-double threat and a big presence for them. Love the junior class with Elijah Bryant and Nick Emery, and the younger Haas, TJ, is looking like he's following in Tyler's footsteps, as well as his father, Marty, who also played at BYU. I just think that there's not a lot of senior leadership, and I understand that when you have guys who go on Mormon missions, that even if they're freshmen, quote-unquote, they could still be in their 20s and stuff, but I'm just not seeing enough on the roster to jump out at me. This is a team that lost in the first round of the NIT last year, so I think there's too much of a leap for them to get to the NCAA tourney.
Little fun fact about BYU and Xavier. BYU 29 NCAA tournament appearances, Xavier 27 NCAA tournament appearances, the most by a team without a Final Four appearance.
Wow. There's a fun fact. Yeah. Great facts, Sleek. I like that one. David, beyond these top 3 teams, we did see the last 2 years here what looked like a concerted effort by the rest of the conference to actually try to catch up by bringing in some big-name coaches. And let's kind of start with down in San Francisco, where Kyle Smith came in all the way across the country, came back to the West Coast, and got 20 wins for USF.
I like the San Francisco team more than BYU this year. I know that they lost their leading scorer. His name escapes me, but I think that he is pretty much all they lost. And a lot of the times when you have someone like that leave, it gives the other players who are good on this team the chance to kind of step up. And I think San Francisco continues to climb. I actually like them a little more than the Cougars.
Yeah, that's Ronnie Boyce that left. After
thank you. Yeah.
Tytel, let me ask you, beyond the top few teams here, is there somebody else that you're even looking at in this conference as being able to make a little noise, not necessarily a tournament, but making some noise?
I'm not seeing a ton in the conference. I like the future at Pacific. I have some personal bias with Coach Damon Stoudemire, former Arizona Wildcat, former co-Pac-10 Player of the Year back when there was the Pac-10. Got 3 transfers from all over the country: Miles Reynolds from St. Louis, Tyshawn Powell from Duquesne, Kai Cabellas from North Dakota State. I don't think they're all going to come in and become like double-digit scorers and transform the program overnight, but I don't recall too often in the past where guys are transferring as sophomores or juniors to Pacific. I'm sure the beach is lovely and stuff, but I think that the coach and the future has a lot to do with it.
Well, Matt, what about Santa Clara? Herb Sendek there, now in his 2nd season, brings in a grad transfer from Princeton and Henry Caruso, who was hurt most of last year, but I believe is healthy this season.
Yes, and also one guy to watch is Matt Turner, a freshman all the way from the East Coast. He had a lot of high major schools taking a strong look at him. In the end, he ends up at Santa Clara. So if he produces, I think what will happen, and can they keep him after that, which nowadays is harder when you're at a level like Santa Clara. Say he averages 12 or 13 a game as a freshman. There could be some Big East A-10 schools sniffing around, and who knows. But if he stays there 4 years, I think Herb Sendek will be a key part of that rebuilding. Losing Jared Brownridge is a massive loss, but I think they'll be back 4th, 5th place this year, and then a year from now, maybe they make the jump.
David, another one of these new group of head coaches the last couple of years here, Terry Porter over in Portland, who will be in the Phil Knight Invitational that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But I think there's 11 red shirts, 11 new faces on this team off of last year. I mean, is Terry Porter the right guy to actually build something here in Portland, or?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm not going to say it was
fine.
a bad hire, but it's just it's hard for me to say definitively either way. He's got a lot of work to do. I guess my answer is probably not, but who the hell else are they going to get?
Okay. Well, Stalika, we've got a couple other teams here we haven't mentioned yet. San Diego, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine. Anything you see in any of those three teams?
Pain.
Just pain. Just pain. Titel, how about you? Is there anything else worth discussing as we towards the bottom of this conference?
I think late on a Wednesday night we have better things to discuss than the bottom of the West Coast Conference. But
I agree. All right, then why don't I do this? Well, actually, Titel, let me ask you this, and I think I already know the answer. Who do you think the Conference Player of the Year is?
What's up, Jock? Can we rock?
Yep.
I'm going with Landon.
Yeah, and Matt, I don't think there's any argument about that heading into the preseason, is there?
No, because I mean Gonzaga has a lot of talent, but it's all fairly equal. I guess Jonathan Williams III might make a run, but no, Jack Londale's awesome. He might not be just be WCC Player of the Year. He might be your first or second team All-American. He's that good.
Right. Well, let me run through each of you here and ask the question: who wins it between St. Mary's and Gonzaga? And the second question is, do you see a third bid? I don't think any of us is going to say that one of those teams is going to miss the field. But so Titel.
I strongly feel this is a two-bid league, of course. I think this is the year that St. Mary's finally gets Gonzaga. Like, we've said that for well over a decade, and Few just he knows how to push the buttons and stuff. But I think on paper that this is the year for Coach Bennett to catch Coach Few.
Stalika, you agree?
I'm going to say Gonzaga and St. Mary's get the bids, but I'm going to say Gonzaga actually reclaims the West Coast crown this year.
All right. Matt, which way are you going? I think we lost Matt there.
I'll go St. Mary's. I'll go with go St. Mary's with the talent and experience, but man, that schedule, that's so bad that I think it hinders them a little bit. And then say if they have a hiccup early in WCC play, like also St. Mary's, I think they both get in. Probably both 6 to 7 seed. St. Mary's a better team than that, but their schedule digs them. No, they're only two. I just like I said, BYU has probably tournament level talent, but I just don't like how it goes together.
No, and I don't think it's there for BYU or anybody else. For me, it is St. Mary's 1, Gonzaga 2. David, let me finish off with you.
Again, it's the same two as everybody else, St. Mary's, Gonzaga, but I think Gonzaga ends up winning it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, I do want to thank everybody for joining us for all these podcasts. Again, you should be watching the other two that are up there somewhere. Okay. David pointed them out to us. But on behalf of Matt,
I can see them. They're right there. I see them.
Yes. Go hit the button, David.
Yeah.
On behalf of Matt Sikowski and John Titel down there, John Stalika and the puppet up here, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back again with more preseason coverage coming up real soon.